Hey there, super friends. This is Joey with Last Point Gaming. If you want to connect with us on social media, you can subscribe to us on YouTube at Last Point Gaming. You can friend up our Last Point Gaming Facebook account. You can follow us on Twitter at Last Point Gaming. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Stranger Sparrow, or you can always reach out directly with an email to lastpointgaming@gmail.com. And now I forgot the damn date. Help me phone. Today is Friday, February 16th, 2018. And yeah, wow, this doesn't feel right. This is like not how I've been doing it forever. And yeah, I'm gonna have to work on that. I'm gonna have to figure something out there. Let's see here. What's exciting today? Well, Boo and I are going to play some Standard tonight. At the last, I guess, FNM that's strictly Standard at the shop, at least for a while. So that's super exciting. Also, Mirror Match is going to be there. I know that because he asked me to borrow a card. So I'm really, really excited about that. I love that kid. And he randomly, disappears from Standard for long periods of time. And it makes me sad. What else exciting is there? Got involved in a nice thread with Tasty Snackies and Rogue Deck Builder on Twitter today. I did misinterpret Rogue Deck Builder's comment. The guy has a name, and I have no clue what it is. I want to say, Kevin? But I also believe that the one guy who works at the one local store is named Kevin. He's not. That's not his name. But that's always how I refer to him when I talk about him. I've decided his name is Kevin. He looks like he should be a Kevin. Clearly his parents messed up and they just named him wrong. In any case, yeah, Rogue Deck Builder. He has a name. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I guess, actually, the thread started with MTG Purple, maybe? I don't know. In any case, Netters versus Brewers war again. Except it wasn't really a war. My comment was a softball. I disagree with you. Because they were complaining about how net decking is seeping into Commander now. And it's sad, and, people are so boring, blah, blah, blah. So I, replied to him. I was like, I'm not sure that's fair. Some of us are just really fucking bad at deck building, and so the process itself is painful and nightmarish. And then you just get slaughtered every game you play. It just leads to all around unfun. He was kind enough, he replied back, and he was like, alright, I was just kind of joking there. I don't mind net deckers. But throughout all this thread, the more concerning thing is there was a commenter that was like, why I hate net deckers is their fucking attitude. And I almost, corrected with, oh, well, you're not talking about net deckers, you're talking about shitty players. But I didn't want to seem to be demeaning what they were saying. I didn't want it taken that I was being snarky and flippant. Because this goes back to, when a woman expresses, hey, I've experienced sexual harassment in Magic, and people are well, I mean, I haven't in years and years. There are times it happened mostly when I was 19, 20, and yeah. Well, even younger than that, I guess. But then often the response is, hey, don't demean people's experiences by saying, hey, this hasn't happened to me, or if you're a guy saying, well, I don't do that. And So if you look at that kind of approach, but apply it to all these kind of anecdotal things, actually really changes the way you interact with people. Like, I have tried to be, like, way more receptive, I guess, about the whole sexism in the gaming community since Thea's article. Because this was the first time I saw an article that I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can identify with what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Because we're not talking about those overt... Oh, I lost my mic. When the fuck did that happen? I don't know. Hopefully you could hear me all this time. Alright. But we're not talking about those overt behaviors. We're talking about some more subtle things and that kind of thing. So I've decided, like, I'm making a conscious effort to be more receptive about it and stop feeling... Because a lot of my aggression towards these articles, usually written by men, is they would focus on that, like, overt garbage behavior that it's like, you know, it really doesn't matter who that's targeted at. Like, that's not offensive because it's a woman involved. That's just dickish and offensive. And I also, like, felt the need to get defensive on behalf of my gamer boys. That I'm like, you know, you talk like this. I do also feel like these articles where they're addressing this really boorish behavior that, like, any fucking moron knows is not acceptable in polite society. Like, period. It's not a gamer environment thing where it's not acceptable there. It's just not acceptable. And, like, anybody with half a brain knows it. Knows that society has deemed it unacceptable, whether or not they agree with the notion that it's unacceptable or not. Don't want to be insulting people with different opinions than me, but you understand that this breaks social mores. So when they write articles like that, like, hey guys, don't grab women, and put it out there, I can just imagine any woman reading that like hasn't been in the tournament scene and was thinking about maybe, you know, going and checking out an event, but then they read that and go, let me get this straight. You got to spell this out to people and act like it's this novel concept that, you know, grabbing women, making overt, threatening, harassing remarks, that this is unacceptable. Oh man, what the hell kind of community is that? And that's where I took exception to a lot of these articles that focus on these bigger behaviors. That when you write something like that and put it out there, and people who consume content, but again, haven't really been in the tournament scene, they see it and think, Jesus Christ, really? You have to put this warning label out there? You have to tell me not to use my hairdryer while in the shower? Ah, fuck. What the hell's wrong with these people? But Thea's article does put a lot more focus on less overt behaviors. On behaviors that maybe male gamers don't understand. Like, it doesn't occur to them that this is something subtle, but still, you know, demeaning or degrading in some way. So since reading that article, like, this is the first one I've legitimately read and go, oh, okay, no, I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, this makes sense. I've tried to be more receptive about. But anyway, going back to the original topic. So to dismiss this person and be like, oh, well, you're not talking about net deckers, you're talking about asshole players. It felt the same as saying, oh, well, you're not talking about a male gamer, you're talking about a dickhead. So I tried to approach it a little more softly, but the main crux I'm trying to get to, sorry, I'm still on sleep rations, so better than it was. I have definitely gotten more sleep over the past couple days than I did earlier this week, and some proverbial storm clouds have at least turned a less threatening color. But I'm still a little bit fried, and yeah, we'll get there. Anyway, one thing, like, and I know I've been over this, so I don't really want to harp on it, but whether you're a net decker or a brewer, to blame your win or your losses on your deck or your opponent getting lucky while attributing your wins to your exceptional skill level, you're a dick, okay? Don't do that. Now, I mean, yes, I have griped after a match about my deck was just drawing like garbage. But I try to make an effort to make sure I let my opponent know. I'm not saying like, yeah, you played like straight up hot garbage, so if my deck were drawing marginally well, I would have been fine. But, you know, the whole like, yeah, man, I just wish I could have made it more competitive for you, because like you just totally mashed me, because like you played really well and my deck was drawn like garbage, so I couldn't even get going to even clash with you. Because, yeah, I hate that shit. Yeah, I've talked about how when people go on about, you know, oh, they top decked for that win, better to be lucky than good. Well, you wouldn't be in the position where the top deck would make that big a difference if you hadn't played well. You know, in most cases. Like, top decking Glorybringer doesn't always win games. The times that it does, it's because you've managed their board, you know, you've pursued play lines earlier in the game that, you know, either panned out or, you know, that you forced, so that when you top deck that Glorybringer, yeah, it does kind of shut down and win the game, but it's because of decisions that you made leading up to that made that top deck so incredible. And there are definitely times where you're backed into a corner and there is one card in your deck that will do it. Is it the card on top? God, I hope so. But I wouldn't even attribute all of those to like a lack of skill. It's pursuing play lines that for whatever reason didn't pan out, or, you know, you're in a bad match, or just whatever. Even if you did make some fumbles. But there's a big difference between top deck to save me for right now and top deck to win the game. And if we're talking a top deck to win the game kind of scenario, the reason you're in a position to need that one card to close it out is because up to this point you've played it well. Otherwise you'd be demolished and top deck really wouldn't matter. This is the kind of shit I get annoyed about. Like, again, can we just not shame each other over stupid shit? Like, I've lost to brews before that I'm like, I can't even be mad. Like, I want to be mad, but nah, what you pulled off there was amazing. And, you know, I try to be nice about it when I beat left field brews. And talk about, so, you know, what do you got going on with your deck, because it looked really neat and like I haven't seen anything like it. And if they start getting down on it, like, yeah, it's this crappy brew, and I'm like, oh, you know, maybe it just needs a little tweaking. Like, that's part of the brewing process, is you know, learning what works and what doesn't. And I wish I'd see more of that. But on the same hand, though, when it comes to brewers, the reason I said something to Rogue Deck Builder is because I've been on the receiving end of enough fucking salt from brewers. They're like, oh, another person who can't think for themselves. And I'm like, sure, we'll go with that. And the first comment you make, I'll probably ignore it and go, yeah, whatever. If you keep hassling, and you may push me enough that I decide to reply back. But I hate that shit. It's like, you're such a boring net decker. I mean, okay. Or like, great, I'm gonna lose to another net deck. I'm sorry, but it's kind of the way of things, mostly. Just, not everybody's good at brewing. not everybody enjoys it. You know, to see people were commenting on this thread like, oh yeah, like, I enjoy poring over my collection of cards and figuring out what I can fit together. Hey, that's great. Again, pursue your joy in the manner that you enjoy. But don't be a salty douche. If you can't take a loss, this ain't the hobby for you. Because you're going to take a lot of them. Or you're essentially going to be the schoolyard bully who got his growth spurt before everybody else. And the reason that you're never taking losses is you're beating up on players who are less skilled than you are. You know, because when you're playing against players with equal or better skill, everybody gets some bad breaks in their draws. There is a certain amount of luck involved in the game where, you know, variance can really kick the shit out of you. If it's happening every game, there's probably a flaw in your deck design, or you're having some kind of problem with your shuffling. Be it your sleeves or your shuffling technique, you know, whatever. But it's either your deck isn't built right, which I've been there a lot of times, and that's why I just don't even fucking try to brew shit anymore. Or, you know, there's some kind of shuffling problem, and that's why you're getting screwed on every draw. Variance sucks, and it does happen, but and yeah, it sometimes you just get the worst possible draws for the deck you're playing against. That against a different archetype, these draws would be great, but against this deck, it's you can only sideboard so much, right? So yeah, this goes back to, can we just stop fucking shaming each other over the stupidest fucking shit? Like, really. Pursue your joy the way you want to. If you enjoy following the little instruction booklet that comes with the Legos and putting things together as Mattel? Hasbro? Who the fuck owns Lego? I don't know. As Lego intended. Cool. You go ahead and do that. If your joy is instead taking these wacky little bricks you got and building some abstract concept of a dinosaur, cool. You go right ahead. But don't look at your neighbor and go, hey, you're doing that wrong. No, that's not how this works. Okay, so that rant's over. What else do I got to talk about? Man, this has been a boring day. Watch Daily Digest with Ross Miriam. Oh, that's kind of exciting. So I talked earlier this week about going to Standard Showdown and losing round one and then Boo avenging me against that guy. And about how he's playing this, like, really neat deck. That was, like, mono black control with some ramp thrown in. You know, a little bit of green. Ross Miriam on Daily Digest today played a very similar deck. And he did end up pulling out the win, though it got a little sketchy a couple times. He was playing against green-black Constrictor. But it's a neat match to watch, and his deck did look a bit different from Richmond's, but the concept is very similar. It was neat to see it out there. Like, when Richmond played it against me, this is the first time I had seen that deck. And so I didn't quite know what I was doing against it. You know, who the hell plays Masterminds Acquisition? But yeah, no, it was a neat deck. It was neat to watch Ross play it and go through some of his thought processes with him and everything. Versus series today was Pauper. It's unfortunately the last one with Jim Davis, which does make me a bit sad. I don't think I don't think there's any personality that has been on the Versus series, you know, including Jim, that if it was every day, it's these two guys that I like enough that I wouldn't eventually get to the point where I'm like, oh my god, can we bring back the other ones? Like, I'm just so bored watching you. I really enjoy all the guys on the Versus series, but it was great to see Jim in there. He said yesterday maybe, or the day before, he just, I don't know, something about him. It just has that happy, peppy, yeah, we can do this. Like, something about his look. I just feel inspired every time I see him. I'm like, yeah, I am going to take the stairs today, Jim. I don't know. I'm weird. Whatever. But it was a neat match. Popper is just such a fascinating format. It's nice to see it getting some traction, but also other exciting news this week. MTGO Traders, Taryn specifically with MTGO Traders, did a video that it looked like a Skype interview with Jerry T. So having two absolute treasures of the community in one video was fantastic. I adore Taryn from Traders, and I think I've talked enough about Jerry Thompson that y'all may have gathered that I also think he is a fine, upstanding gentleman. And they talked about Popper and, how it's great. You can buy this deck for $20, except as the format gains more traction, it's going to fall to the same syndrome as everything else, especially like these real old out-of-print commons. I have to make a quick stop here on my way home, but not quite ready to do that yet. Anyway, so it was a great interview to watch. I think Taryn did really well with it. Especially for kind of, I believe, an untested skill set for him, being on camera doing the interview. And of course, Jerry is just like one of the straight up nicest guys ever. Is that the car in front of me? God, I hope so. Smart cars make weird noises. Anyway, so yeah, it was a good interview, but this is my concern with Popper becoming mainstream. Like, part of me is really excited about it, and like, yeah, hey, an affordable format to compete in, except once you add that compete in, it will inevitably no longer be an affordable format. Once you can leverage these cards to try to win some money, it's going to push up the prices of them. Because of scumbag investors like scumbaginvestments.com, scumbagalphainvestments.com. No hate to Rudy. I really enjoy watching him. But, so it was exciting to watch some Popper. Todd was on Elves. Jim was on Burn, which are both, pretty expected Popper decks. I've actually played against Popper Elves during the short time my shop was trying to run some Popper events. And that deck is insane. I think Popper Elves is actually better than Modern Elves. I don't know if it's because it gets access to older cards, because, of course, Popper, there is a ban list. But outside of cards on the ban list, anything goes that's common. If it's ever been printed at common. It's like, what card were we talking about that I was like, wait, that's an uncommon? Seeker of the Way. I'm like, that card was uncommon. Oh, except they downgraded him to common in Iconic Masters. Not gonna be too long till Sarah Angel gets downgraded again. But yeah, so I'm enjoying them doing a different format every day in the Versus series and representing more of the format, like all the formats a little more evenly. Because before, the old style that they used to do, they'd go through long swaths where it's like, oh, Modern Pro Tour is coming up in 2 weeks, so we're doing all Modern. And they used to also only do like 3 videos a week. I think it was like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that they went up. Whereas now they're doing 5 videos a week because they are shorter. Because they used to play 5 games no matter what. So there were times where somebody got blown out in a 5-0. But they would play 5 games. They would stop, sideboarding. They'd lay everything out and talk about their sideboarding plan and everything else. Which, I'm not going to lie, I did really like that format. I liked that they staged the matchups. So it wasn't like, oh, well, we're sitting down at a table and we're going in blind. It was, hey, so we decided that this deck is like a really good matchup with a lot of interesting decisions, so this is what we're playing against each other. But you did hear them actually actively talk about, like, they draw the opening hand for game one and be like, oh man, blind, I would keep this, I think, but like knowing what I'm going up against, it makes it harder to keep it, but I'm going to keep it anyway because I'm trying to go in, kind of faking that I'm going into this blind. So the new format, I mean, it's nice because you get that more competitive angle, like where they're shielding information from each other. I gotta stick y'all on pause real quick. I'll be right back. Boy, was that a pain in the ass. So what was I talking about? Oh, so the new format, one, you get more versus videos, which is, in my opinion, always great. Two, you do get that more competitive feel that they don't have to kind of speculate. No, they do have to speculate. They don't have to make a decided effort to not metagame it. But at the same time, as they're talking about, well, I got this, I got these cards in my hand and I'm going to do this and I'll try to explain when I do it. I feel like you do lose some of the insight that you used to get. But either way, the new format's fine. I don't know why I was on that. Oh, and they do the different Magic formats. So it seems to be Standard, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Pauper pretty much every week. So yeah, it's good to get to see those formats, especially like Vintage. Man, you never see Vintage coverage. Mostly because you never see Vintage events. And also Legacy, when they do the team tournaments, Legacy gets very little spotlight. Or so it seems. And again, there's not a whole lot of straight up Legacy format tournaments. So you don't see a whole lot of it. So it's nice to get to see those formats. And of course, Pauper's not the featured event at anything at this point. While still getting some insight into the current Standard and the current Modern meta. You know what? They must have done something different this week because they did do the no ban list Modern one day. Wonder if they did that in lieu of regular Modern or... I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they do the playtest card decks coming up on a set release or on a rotation like they used to. But in any case, I don't know why I just got on that jag about. Let me talk all about the SCG versus series. Swear to God, those people don't pay me. Traders doesn't pay me either. Nobody pays me to say good things about their content. I just do. There was something I was diligently going to try to talk about today, and now of course I can't remember. Diligently to the point that this morning as I was driving to work, I kind of had the conversation with myself about it. Yeah, man, I just completely don't remember. Oh well. So, hopefully our Modern FNMs will work out and I won't be talking as much about Standard decks coming up here soon because, God, yeah, I would really like to cross over to running mostly Modern. I think it would be good for Boo to run Modern just because, she's still in that play style where she's still learning how to play the game effectively. That I think her sticking with one deck and learning that way as opposed to just crashing through the different Standard decks she's been through where, there's not a whole lot of variance in Standard. Standard actually gets more nailed down than Modern does because of that smaller card pool. Now, luckily, we got decent diversity at the shop as far as decks go. Like, we did have a couple 4-color energy players. 4-color / Teamer Splash Black energy players. But it was never like, the majority of our meta. I would say Rami Red actually had more dominance at my LGS than Teamer did. But, so she does get to go up against a varied amount of decks, but she's never really getting that time to really get solid with one deck. Now, over the past couple weeks, every week I've gone, she's gone with me instead of doing the every other week thing, plus she's getting to play in the Standard Showdown, which is another reason crossing over to Modern would be good, is if she's going to start going to Standard Showdown with me every week, she'll still get to play Standard, she'll still get to interact with it and everything, and build that skill of kind of reevaluating a new field, as opposed to getting wedged into, I'm playing against this Modern deck with this Modern deck, so this is what I do turns 1, 2, and 3. This is what I mull to. This is that it's no longer about thinking on your feet, it's about repeating patterns. But I think, giving her that long swath of time to work solely with one deck to get a better grasp on how, the complex interactions work and everything, because right now, between only going every other week, which, again, that's somewhat changed, and the fact that she then only got to play her deck, because you figure it's about 3 months. Now, she's been on Monument for a while, but she only gets to play her deck. She gets to play her deck a lot less, I guess. That's the whole thing I'm trying to get to. So it's not about learning the rules of complex interactions, because everything is just so constantly kind of new to her. And even though she's not changing up decks, other people are. So again, we're not about so this interaction has to do with a game rule, so we can learn that game rule to apply this to other situations. It's, this weird shit's happening. So I think it'll be good. If I can, I don't think she's gonna need much convincing to play Modern. The only thing is, Rockstar doesn't play much Modern. And so when I told her about them going back to offering Modern alongside Standard, she was like, yay! Oh wait, does Rockstar play Modern? Because he's one of her favorite people at the shop. In fact, probably her absolute favorite. Aside from maybe Dealer, because Dealer once bought her a milkshake. And if you're not aware, children's love can totally be bought with ice cream. At least, surface. That guy's awesome. That he just kicked a puppy right in front of you. Yeah, but he did buy me that milkshake that one time. It's kind of like the conundrum I have concerning Jeremy from Unsleeved / MTG headquarters / whatever. Is, I get he said rude, mean things to people, but I still can't discount that he has never been rude or mean to me. So does this indicate a personal problem, or, what it more could be is that I don't really have much community presence. He's not getting viewers and shock credit from being an asshole to me as he was with Sprankle or Jimmy Wong or whoever else. When he was going after prominent community members, it's getting him views. Both hate views, which, by the way, don't do that shit, dumbasses. Sorry, but when you're I want to go view this video so I can make mean comments and tell him how wrong he is, you're just contributing to his views on the video, friends. This is not really the best way to go about it. But at the same time, if you're going to flame him, you should probably know what you're talking about. So, I know DeFranco a couple times when talking about YouTubers that he found despicable, he would refer to secondary links where it's well, you're not going to give their channel views, but large clips of their videos here. But in any case, you know, that could be more what it is. But, you know, it's hard to reconcile, like, okay, he was, like, mean and rude to these people. Were they ever, like, mean and rude to him? You know, is that how the interaction started? I don't know. But logically speaking, a lot of it could be that there's no benefit to him flaming me. It doesn't get him anything. So I don't know. But in any case, I'm finally home, so y'all can stop listening to me. As always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll talk to y'all on Monday.